I am Vinnie Tortorich, folks. Your good intentions have been stolen, but don't worry. I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed, just like the woman on the other mic. Yeah, it's the Monday show, and she comes in every Monday. She was drinking something, and I'm not sure what she was drinking, so we're going to ask her right after I introduce her. I'm talking about the beautiful Miss Anna Vocino. Yeah. So Anna, is that something colored in that bottle? What am I seeing?
This is just an Owala bottle. It's just ice water.
Okay, because when I saw you bring it up to your mouth, it was like she's drinking some kind of pink.
She's drinking a sippy cup. No, it's just ice water.
Oh, so all right, so
it's a metal. See that?
That was going to be.
Last time I did that, I poured beef juices all over my computer, and I had to go buy a new one. So I got to be careful.
No, I thought that was a plastic bottle.
No, it's.
That was going to be my second
powder coated on the outside, and then stainless steel on the inside. But it has the little sippy. It's like a sippy cup. Basically.
Yeah, people like. Yeah, like mine is.
I like it. It makes me drink it.
Mine is all man style. You see that? You can hear an echo when I talk.
Well, they have boy colors of this. This was a gift from Lucy for Christmas. And I got to say, my favorite Christmas present this year this is the one I'm using, this water bottle. Because you know how you're always on a search for a water bottle. I don't know if they sell them on your Amazon, but Debbie, put Owala in the in Vinnie's Amazon store.
Bottle. You can see
this bottle.
Look at mine, Anna.
Yours is all dented up.
It's been dropped.
Yeah.
So I had two of these. I've had this bottle since around 20.
And it's stainless steel on the inside? Just a regular stainless steel bottle.
It's not double walled, just singles walled.
So it gets hot if you go out in the heat, right?
Yeah. But I never let the water sit in
double walled.
Yeah, you could put cold stuff in there, you could put hot stuff in there,
I love this thing.
But this is, you can only put, like if you put hot stuff, your hands will be as hot as what's inside. Right. But I had two of them. And when I was moving to LA, we were packing up the house ourselves. And I had
from LA
to here.
Right, got it.
And my buddy Ozzy was helping. Ozzy is famously from the Adam Carolla show.
Right.
And I got to know Ozzy, and whenever he needed to make extra money, I would get him over. Sometimes I would make up reasons to have Ozzy over.
Right.
Things I can easily do, but he was good to have around, and he wasn't expensive. And it's like, you know what? The guy's not working today. I'll figure something out for Ozzy. Well, when it came time to move, Ozzy I'm saying was because he passed away.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he died of COVID. He's the only person I know that died of COVID.
Oh gosh, that's terrible.
But comorbidities, the guy was not in great shape.
Yeah.
And I think I don't want to get into it, but those are the people who, by and large, died during COVID. Yeah. And I know people are going to write to me going, my buddy was a marathon runner and had zero body fat, and he died. Yeah, I'm not saying, I don't want to get into a COVID war. I'm just saying that Ozzy.
COVID wars this Thursday on CBS.
Yeah, that's what she does for a living, folks. But yeah, Ozzy was not in great shape. One of the hardest workers I knew. He was from Central America somewhere. And I had two of these water bottles. So every day I would say, Ozzy, I would clean them out every day. I would give one to Ozzy. I'd fill it up the first time with ice water. And I would say, Ozzy, when you want more, go in the kitchen and keep filling it up. But, we would get confused about halfway through the day.
Right.
So
by drinking his water bottle.
Yeah. On the second or third day, I took a piece of duct tape and I put it on the little lid. You see this little lip on the lid?
Yep.
I put a little piece of gray duct tape and Ozzy. So we're not trying to figure it out. Yours is the one with the duct tape. This is yours. I think Ozzy thought that I said, hey man, here's a gift, because Ozzy didn't speak very good English.
Okay. So he took it home.
Yeah. So when we were done with working, he took it home every day and brought it back, And on the last day,
like you're giving him some old water bottle. There you go. You can
Well,
keep it. It's
it
your
was
gift.
it was fairly new at the time,
Okay.
and, it still had
Gross.
canteen written on it and everything. As you can
Yeah.
see, this one, you can't see anything written on it because it's so worn out, right?
Yeah.
But on the last day when I paid Ozzy for the final disc, I said, Ozzy, man, it's great. I'm sure I'll see you around the Corolla show. We're heading out in the morning. Love you, brother. And I paid him for the work that day. And he took about 3 steps and he went, oh, and he turned around and he came back and he grabbed his bottle.
It's his bottle.
And I didn't have the heart to tell him, no, Ozzy, that was just your bottle while you were working here. Because I think
No, that was his bottle.
these things are like $30. They're
Yeah.
not cheap,
Yeah,
right?
well, he was smart. He's like, I'm just gonna act like it's mine. It's
I'm
like,
gonna pretend I don't understand what Vinny's saying,
yeah,
and I'm gonna walk.
possession is 9/10 of the law.
I did not stop the man.
No.
I did not stop.
Rest in power, Ozzy.
The other thing Ozzy did was, he saw, we packed up a lot of my guns, right? Because I had to get them all across the country. I carried them with me, and Ozzy came over one day and he had a blanket. He walks up with a blanket. I'm like, what's Ozzy up to today? And he opened it up and it was like 3 or 4 guns in there.
Mm. Oh,
And
they were his guns.
I said, Ozzy, what are these? Some of them looked like they kind of worked, a little rust on them, this, that, and the whole thing.
You
But
probably could have fixed them up for him.
they were like hunting rifles. And Ozzy, he goes, take these. Just take these. I don't want them around my kids. I don't, said, Ozzy, where
Yeah.
they come from? He's like, he pretty much told me when we were like trying to get to America, we used these, they
Oh,
walk
wow.
and we use these to hunt and, for protection and everything else. And he just wanted to
Wow.
grab 'em. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
do you still have his guns or what'd you do with them?
I can't confirm or deny that.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to those guns. Anyway,
I don't know what that means, but there's a story there.
don't worry about those guns.
Don't worry about it.
They're somewhere. I couldn't put my hands on them. Anyway, we're talking about not Ozzy or guns.
We're
Or
talking about reading today.
yeah. Yeah, Anna, we've never really gotten into COVID, right? Because all that does is still divisive, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And when we were in the heart of it, every single doctor that came on the show, on the Friday show,
Yeah.
they all wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
They were like, can I tell you what I think? Can I tell you? It's like, no, I don't want to get caught in the middle of the COVID wars.
Right. Right.
Right. It just wasn't for me. It's like, look, I'm trying to help people get healthy.
Right.
They should look and see that the people who are dying by and large are older people and people with comorbidities.
Right.
That means type 2 diabetes. That means fatty liver disease. That means sleep apnea. Any of the things that comes along with morbid obesity. Morbid obesity, I always try to remind people, the word morbid is in the title. Right? So if you are morbidly obese, do not celebrate it and go, I'm being me and I'm happy in my skin and all this stuff. That's bullshit. You have morbid in your title. And you're the person I'm talking to. You're the people I'm trying to help. Right? So don't take this as, oh, this asshole is slamming me or this is what's going on. I'm trying to help people. And the reason I'm so passionate is because at one time I gained weight for 5 minutes and I went, oh shit, this can happen to anyone. And almost everyone in my family, morbidly obese, all my siblings, right? So I take it to heart. And although I can't help them because no one listens to their family, hopefully I can help you. And that's what we're doing here. Anna, what are we talking about today?
Well, and I wanted to clarify too, because I think that the healthy at any size movement, which is now finally being debunked, it has been really confusing because I think when people are saying being morbidly obese is dangerous because it has the word morbid and there's a reason why they named it that, it's dangerous, doesn't mean like you don't have value as a human. That's why we're here helping you, because you do have value as a human. Like, we're excited for you to be here in this conversation. So I don't want anybody to think it comes from a fat shaming kind of place, because that's not what it's about. What it's about is let's be real and talk about what's going to solve the thing that's been plaguing a lot of us for a lot of our lives, you know?
Yeah. And it's an epidemic in this country. And, you know, look, one of the spearheads of this, Lizzo, was one of the people going, hey, what's wrong? I'm happy. I'm healthy. What's wrong with this? What you're saying, I'm not beautiful? No, Lizzo, nobody was saying any of that. But then Lizzo is one of the ones that got her shit together and started losing weight. So I applaud her for doing that. And now there's a thinner Lizzo. Just like there was that other singer from England,
Adele.
Adele.
Adele famously lost a bunch of weight.
And took shit for it when she lost weight.
People took so much shit for it.
Yeah, people got upset because like, oh,
this is the thing. The discourse is so difficult to deal with because, like, you catch shit if you're fat, you catch shit if you lose weight, you catch shit if you gain weight, and it's like we have such a like toxic discourse around, and which is why I like talking to you about this and coming on this show, is because we're just trying to, for the people who want the information, here's the information. If you're interested in it, we'll be here talking about it every week, week in and week out. And if you're not, that's okay too. There's plenty of other places that you can go spend your time.
And by the way, I don't believe in shaming people that take GLP-1s and Wegovy and Ozempic and all that.
Yep.
Because that, you know, that's become,
definitely not.
Like usually when guys are built really well, you know, other guys will go, oh yeah, I guess I could do that too if I took steroids, right?
Oh, that's a very toxic conversation.
Right. So that's the thing where, you know, I've been accused of that in my life. Yeah, he's lean and muscular because obviously he's taking something. No, it's not very obvious because I wouldn't know if I'm taking something and I've never taken anything. So anytime a guy is in really, or girl's in really good shape, it's automatically assumed that they're taking steroids.
Right.
Not always true. Now they're doing the same thing with people who are losing weight really fast. I had a guy the other day, phone caller. I'm lying. It was a woman. And she goes, I've lost now 85 pounds doing NSNG, and everyone's accusing me of being on GLP-1s. And I said, well, are you? And she goes, no. And she goes, I resent that because I did it the natural way and I put in the work and I'm doing NSNG and, you know, I'm not having pies and cakes and everything. I said, think of it the same way as when people said to me, oh, you must be taking steroids. Take it as a compliment. Right?
Take it as a compliment and take it as what they think of you is none of your business.
Right. And
like, let them talk shit, whatever.
People ask me all the time, what do you think about people on GLP-1s? It's like, well, I don't think it's a good idea, but I get it. Yeah. Right. If you could take a shot, you know, you've been weighing, you fill in the blank, 250, 350, 500, whatever you are, and you're taking a shot and you're losing weight. I get it. And by the way, losing weight is the first defense to help you not end up in a morbid obese category. You know, you have a lesser chance of heart disease and everything else. And the next thing, a pandemic comes down the pike, you know, you're safe. So I get it. I get that you want to do that to lose the weight. My feeling, though, is we're going down a bad road if people think the only way they can lose weight is by taking a drug.
Right.
Remember, when you do low carb, when you do a carnivore, lion diet, NSNG, whatever you want to call it, Atkins, whenever you do any of those, the upside is you will lose 80% fat and 20% muscle. Because when anyone loses any amount of weight, you lose some muscle with it.
Right.
With GLP-1s, they're saying now you can lose up to half and half fat and half muscle.
That sounds very scary.
Safe. And if you talk to Ben Bigman and some of these people who have really studied it, there's all sorts of problems that come with the drug. So there is no, what is that thing? There is no free lunch in nature, as Dr. Drew always says. And the same comes when you take a GLP-1. I'm happy that you're losing weight. Unfortunately, you're taking a risk, right?
Yeah.
So I get it. but you might want to try to wean yourself off of that and get onto a really good diet where you can live like that for the rest of your life. You certainly can't take a drug like that for the rest of your life, or your life will be, I guess you could, but your life will be cut short. Bottom line. I've often said, we will look back on this time in history and diet and just literally shake our heads and go, what were we thinking? Right?
Like the fen stuff?
Well, fen was here and gone within less than a year, right? Because people were just dropping dead. Yeah, fen was gone right away. You know, people were just dropping dead. Take fen, you die. You know, so much so the FDA, who moves at a glacial pace on everything, said, "Oh shit, we got to pull this from the market."
Yeah, that's a true testament.
When you can get the FDA to move fast on something like that, that means there was a lot of fuckery. So you got to really be careful with all of it.
Speaking of, your reminder over the next 2 weeks before we record again is to listen to that olive oil podcast about that.
Yes, send it to me. So
I'll find it and resend it to you. I'm telling you.
Yeah. So anyway, since she's talking about olive oil, let me get this out of the way since they pay us. That's right. I'm telling you about this product because someone strokes me a check every month. But here's the thing. Before Villa Capelli gave me one dime, Anna and I started talking about this product on the air every week because if you don't know this, if you're new to the show, we would put out 3 shows a week. And those shows were each well over an hour. So I would just yell into a mic. And boy, back then I used to yell a lot more. I'd yell into a mic for well north of 3 hours. And I would get hoarse and choked up, more hoarse than I sound right now. And Anna, like after the first show, after the second show, she would leave the studio. She'd go into her kitchen and pour this magical elixir into a shot glass.
True.
I would just start sipping it. And when I sipped it, it would make me cough the first time. You know, like those. It just hit the back of my throat. You can taste it. You can feel it. And we would talk about it during the show. It was Villa Capelli olive oil, right? It was this great olive oil. So we would talk about it. And they started selling a shit ton of olive oil to the point where Paul Capelli called Anna because they knew each other and said, hey, how about we stroke you guys a check? And you mention us on every show. So that's the way this started, Villa Capelli olive oil. And it really is 100% pure olive oil from Puglia. As a matter of fact, they don't bring in stuff from other countries. They don't bring stuff in from Greece.
No, it is not a blend. It is the most local oil you will find from 1 square kilometer of olive trees.
You know, when you buy wine and they talk about single origin, or you buy, you know, this Scotch came from, or, you know, came single origin, single barrel strength, all this stuff. This olive oil is from one farm. They know exactly where every olive came from that went into this oil.
That's right. And
the cool thing is that they don't overcharge for it. A 3-liter tin is right at or right below $100. And you go, oh, Vin, $100.
It might be $120 now. I think it was $100 when we first started. Let me check.
Yeah, see what it is. Even if it was $200, it's worth it, folks. We're talking.
If it was $200, it would be in line with what the California olive oils are charging. It's $118.50.
Okay, so $120.
And by the way, right now the 750 milliliter bottles are sold out. So you need to get that 3-liter tin before it sells out. It's gonna sell out.
You want the 3?
I'm gonna order it right now.
Yeah, and people are going, wait, Vin, you're talking about $117 item?
Yeah, we are.
Well, if you're not me or Anna, that can last you a long time.
That's right.
We drink the stuff like it's Gatorade around here. I'm exaggerating just a little bit. But yeah, the stuff is amazing. It is the best olive oil on the planet. Go get it. Put in promo code Vinnie. If you spend just north of $140, you'll also get free shipping because they give you free shipping at $125.
Yeah.
So if you spend 140, you get the 10%. That puts you at 126. They'll give you free shipping. It's just
Yeah.
the way it works over at Villa Capelli. They have a lot of good stuff. Go check it out at villacapelli.com. VINNIE, no wimpy Y, 10% off. Villa
You want to hear
Capelli.
something crazy?
Go on.
Remember my aunt and uncle who you met at
Yeah.
the event at Bold Forks?
Mm-hmm.
There's a strong possibility that they're buying a property down the street from Steven.
Really?
Yeah.
Are they moving permanently or?
Oh no, that's what I'm trying to find out from them.
You know what I would like to do? Buy one of those $1 Italian properties.
Oh yeah. Those are always someplace where like there's nothing. There's no services, there's no market. There's just one Nona going up and down the hill. Like that's
exactly what I
That's
want.
what you want.
I want one Nona.
I don't blame you.
I need a Nona because look, if I'm up there,
Una Nonna.
that Nona could come and make me a pasta sauce. I don't need this Anna Vocino
That's right.
happy kitchen sauce. I got the real thing popping up the hill with the babushka on and the whole thing. Yeah. I need another Nona. Oh,
Well.
I miss my grandmothers. Anyway, yeah, the way it works is you pay €1. They give you the property.
Yeah.
And then
you're supposed to improve it, which I know you would because you're super handy.
You got to give them like $5,000 or $10,000 that they take as a deposit that they will give back to you once the project is complete.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's the way it worked. I've looked into it.
Okay.
But, some of these properties you could probably fix up for, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
Yeah.
If you do some hands-on stuff, and you can have yourself a nice property.
Yeah.
To go, like, you want to go off the grid. You don't want to have, you don't want to have.
You seem like the perfect guy to go off the grid in Italy. You seem like that's your calling.
One time, Kristen does really cool stuff for not just us, the whole family, right? She uses her celebrity in a cool way.
Yeah.
And she one summer she goes, "Hey, I got this villa." And it was in some little tiny country town. I can't remember where it was. God, I wish I could remember. But it wasn't far from Puglia, as it turns out. It was in that section of Italy.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the name of the place. That was a couple of 2 or 3 little restaurants. We were way down, way, way away. Serena and I would run every morning, and we would have to run about 6 miles to get to the butcher shop, right? And that's where we would turn around, right? So it was like a 10, 12.
I imagine you just stocking up on meat and then just having to run back with it like rockets.
That was our turnaround because Serena was still doing ultra. So I was like, I guess I'll run 12 miles today. And we would do that. And, but then we'd go into a little town and they had the little butcher and the this and that and the whole thing. It was so peaceful and so quiet and views in the countryside. It was just amazing because, hills and dales and you're looking over all this stuff.
Yeah, I bet it was amazing.
And, the house she got had a swimming pool, so we would all sit around the pool and yeah, man,
sounds dreamy.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having my own place like that. And by the way,
sounds like you need to make friends with John Vocino and Diane Evans so that you can go
check it out.
Yeah.
Right? Because
you're like, I'm checking it out, so I need to come stay.
I need to just come hang out because I kind of fell in love with your uncle. He's a cool guy.
He's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see doing that one day. Have a place in Europe and just go hang out. Plus $1, plus some fix-up fees.
Yeah.
As long as Villa Capelli keeps paying me, one day I can afford my own villa.
You better save up them Villa Capelli bucks.
Yeah.
That's as good as cash.
Every month. All right. So Anna,
let's get back to the United States where things don't make sense.
Okay.
We're going to be discussing how to read nutritional labels, aka nut facts, aka NFPs, nutritional facts panels. Okay. Vinny, what are NFPs?
I can't remember.
They're just those things that everybody picks up when you buy an item off the shelf. You pick up a can of beans or you pick up a a thing of whatever the fuck, I don't know. What do people buy at the store that's pasta sauce?
Yeah.
You pick up a thing and you look at it and you go, and everybody goes, huh, how many calories are in that?
Right.
Ooh, it has 112. Well, I'm looking for something with 90 calories. And then they set it back down. Or they pick it up and they go, oh, wait, hold on. It's 10 grams of carbs. Oh, but it's only 5 grams of net carbs. And they're like, okay, I can buy that. Right.
Okay. So on the back of everything that's packaged, there's two things that are written on the back. And we'll get to the front of the package in just a minute because I've done a whole documentary on that. I've done a whole documentary on the whole label, to be honest with you.
Yes.
It's called Dirty Keto. You can go check it out. But this is beyond dirty keto. This is dirty everything.
This is dirty everything, which, by the way, I've always said if I would just close down Eat Happy Kitchen and start a food company where I'm doing keto ice cream and keto crackers and cookies, I'd be way richer, way faster.
Oh, you would be like Elon Musk rich.
I would be so rich.
You would have your own space Y.
Yeah. Because if there's something that America loves, it's a trend and a workaround. Yeah. And if you can combine a trend with a workaround, even if it's not real and it doesn't work,
right, you
can get rich in this country.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Lying will get you rich.
Yeah.
Doing what I do, telling the truth, you
not so much.
You'll be looking for a $1 house in Italy.
That's right. That's your retirement plan.
So on the back.
So the nutritional panel is the whole thing we were talking about. But then the part below it that I think people seem to forget is right below all that quote unquote nutritional information are the ingredients contained within said food item that you just picked up.
So here's how you read this. So the thing that says nutrition facts, there is nothing factual about it. Right?
Yep.
Our government allows them to lie on that panel. And come on, Vin, you sound like a flat earther. Come on, what are you talking about? Where's your tinfoil hat? No. I've been yelling about this since my radio show back in 1989. If you do the math, that was like 1 million years ago. The government allows fudgery. Is fudgery a word? You could fudge now. So
it allows, they call it a margin of error.
Yeah. And the margin of error is so huge that all right. So one of the things they'll say protein, right? Mm-hmm. Well, everybody assumes that protein is a good thing. So under protein, they will fudge high. Let's say the product has, 10 grams of protein, but since it can be either 8 grams or 12 grams, they're going to put 12 grams because we all think of protein as being a really good thing.
Right.
And even with that, whether you put it on the top or the bottom end of it, they still have a margin of error to lie even more. Mm-hmm. So if you put 12, it can be plus or minus 5% or something like that, which is crazy, right? Fat.
It seems very high.
So people think fat is a bad thing, even though we need fat to live, right? So they're not going to put, let's say the actual grams of fat in that same product is also 10 grams of fat. Well, they're not going to fudge that number up. They're going to
fudge it down
as much as they can. They're going to try to get it down to like 8 or 7. But then what they'll do is they'll say, you'll start seeing they can screw it up in there. They can add more lines in and go, saturated fat, right? Because now they're breaking the fat out, non-saturated, saturated fats. They'll break them out so that now you're going, oh, this is even lower in fat because, it's only this in saturated fat because they have people believing that saturated fat is somehow bad for you. And if something that has 10 grams of total fat, they've lied it down to 8, and then they put saturated fats, and that's only 3 or 4.
Right.
Right. So people are going, ooh, the bad fat, because they think saturated is bad, but it's not. That's 4. The protein is 12. This is a good ratio, right? But it's all fudgery, right? And then.
Can I interject here for a second?
Go on.
The reason why they do this is nobody's sitting at the manufacturing plant and inputting, like nobody's sitting there weighing and putting, ingredient A, ingredient B, ingredient C. They're not sitting there at the place where these are all assembled into a food item. They're not sitting there going, let's weigh and measure all of these ingredients with our protein detecting machines, our carb detecting machines, and our fat gram detecting machines. That's not how it works. They're not sitting there going, you know what? Let's determine how many calories are in this by figuring it out exactly by what we're putting it in there. When you are manufacturing food, you have all of your ingredients, and then those have spec sheets. And the people who provide the ingredients provide the spec sheets, which also include the nutritional information. Then you have in your database the formulas for what you're making. So the people at Nabisco who are making the Oreo has a different formula than whatever the Chips Ahoy cookie, right?
That's
And
correct.
so all of those ingredients are done volumetrically by percentages shoved into the machine. And I mean, literally, they're doing that when they make it, but it's
Right.
shoved into the computer machine. It's passed through all the spec sheets and then divided out according to serving size, which that's another fuckery thing that they do when they're like, oh,
Absolutely.
you're only going to have 1.5 Chips Ahoy, when we all know you open the bag and you eat the bag, right?
Right.
And you're like, I hate myself because I don't even like these cookies. And yet here I am eating the bag of Chips Ahoy.
Yeah, I was going to get to that last,
So,
that piece of
but
it.
I wanted to be really clear, like, what do you mean by fudging it? Aren't they measuring it when they make our food? Sort of, is what I'm saying. Like, they're sort of measuring it. The ingredients have spec sheets, which, by the way, then you have to trust your supplier that they're providing accurate spec sheets,
That's correct.
which they don't always do. And who's in compliance checking up on this? I know that your partners and my partners, the people we choose to work with that we vet to make things, are very high quality people who care about this stuff. And it's important. But there are plenty of manufacturers who do not give a rip. And because they know that the chances of the FDA pulling their item, not yours or mine, but pulling one of those items and figuring out a way that they can, unless somebody gets sick from the contents of it and it
Right.
has to be recalled, it's very rare that they're going to get busted and they're going to retract or like issue a more accurate statement.
Yeah, it's a roundabout figure, but they do cheat it up and down
They
to
do.
work for them. And
They do.
same with sugar.
Calories
Now,
too.
everyone hates sugar. You see, they used to leave the carbs really high because, everybody, was supposed to eat carbs. Carbs are energy, right? So they used to leave that number really high.
Right.
Look, most of your calories are coming from carbohydrates, and if you don't eat fat, you can't get fat. The world was working. I know that sounds crazy now, if you're listening to the show and you've bought into what people like me are talking about. But yeah, we went through
Especially
like
if you're younger and you didn't live through those diet years that where fat was demonized. Like, God bless the younger generation for not having to be
the snack.
subjected to
I
that.
call it the snack world generation. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you don't eat fat, you can't possibly get
That was
fat.
me. I was the target audience for that. I was,
Oh, yeah.
20, 25 years old and that was sold that whole thing. And like, as a young woman, like, oh, okay, that's what I have to eat. Like, it's okay. It's better for me to have a bean burrito than it is for me to have a steak.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
carbs
And
on
I
top of
fully
carbs.
believed that.
And I would yell at people, go, no. It's like, but Vinny, I'm not eating any fat. I can't get fat. Now everyone knows carbs are bad, right? So now they're downplaying the carbs,
Right.
right? And so, they're playing that number way down. And then they started figuring out a way to cheat that and doing net carbs. They started their own. When you have prisoners running the asylum, this is what you get.
Explain the trickery that is net carbs.
There's so much trickery that goes on with net carbs that it's hard to keep up with what they're doing.
It's also hard to convince people about it because they don't want to hear it. They're like, no, it's net carbs. I get in arguments with people.
So people send me stuff all the time online. Say, I can have these chips, right? It's only 2 net carbs. And you turn over the back and it's like, it's got tapioca, it's got wheat, it's got this, it's got that, it's got 5 things. But hey, we threw some extra fiber in there and you get to subtract the fiber from the carbs.
We put some
That
inulin
was
in
made
there.
up. Look, I did a whole documentary on that. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, go watch Dirty Keto. I don't make this stuff up. It is made up out of whole cloth, literally made up out of whole cloth. So they're calling it net carbs. You're still, and by the way, you know when you take in all this fiber, that's carbs too. There's no net of that. That's all carbs. It's all going in, and it all causes a problem, right? So the fact of and then getting to the last thing on nutrition facts, the part that where they'll say right at the top, a serving size is, I'm going to just make something up, 1/2 cup. Serving per container, 3 cups, right? Or let's use ice cream, because a pint of ice cream, if you read the back of a pint of ice cream, it'll say 4 servings. Everyone thinks that's 1 serving. Everyone I know thinks that's a serving, right? So whatever number you see written on there, multiply it by 4, right? That's the truth on the carton of ice cream. So that's all, everything in the nutrition facts, there's nothing factual about it. But the FDA went, you know what? We got to tell people what they're putting in their bodies. So we'll put the truth right under it or right next to it, and that's called ingredients.
Right.
Not only that, they force these companies to put the ingredients in order of how they appear. So if the number one thing, thing in your thing is, grains, they'll put that first.
And by the way, volume, think volume.
Right.
The largest thing that appears the most. It's not just necessarily what it looks like the most. Like that's why, remember you talked about that RX bar early on?
Right.
Where I said on the front of the RX bar, it said like 2 egg whites, 1 date, 4 blueberries, or whatever it said. Right. And then on the back, you read it, you're like, well, hold on. It lists egg white first, and yet the dates are the first ingredient. That's because volume, that has the most thing in it.
You see, that's what's on the front.
Right.
We'll get to the front last.
Okay.
Okay. So under ingredients, they have to list it in its appearance, and whatever's the most goes first, second, third, and fourth. That's why people will say to me, Vinny, I don't see sugar. Well, they start listing sugar. In my PDF, the Vinny, what do we call it? The NSNG PDF.
Ebook.
The ebook. Debbie hates when I call it the PDF. I show like 60, 65 different names that can be used for sugar.
Right.
So you might see lemon juice concentrate. Anytime you see anything like grape juice concentrate, and you'll go, why don't they just use cane sugar? And they'll have, you'll see the word turbinado, which is just brown sugar, right? So they'll use all of these different terms. And you'll say, why don't they just put one kind of sugar? Well, they can hide it by putting different amounts of sugar to make something sweet. It might say honey. It might say turbinado. It might say cane sugar. It might say agave. It could say, now they're dummying it up with stevia, which is not really stevia, NutraSweet.
A mixture of stevia and monk fruit and erythritol.
Erythritol. They're mixing all kinds of stuff in. It's maddening if you read the ingredients, what you're actually putting in your body.
I don't think people believe us when we talk about this. Like you're going to have to see stuff to believe it. When you look at a protein bar, or I famously have talked about this over the years when I was researching other formulas and price points when I was first launching the marinara, it was a short rib simmer sauce from some company, Williams Sonoma, or I don't know, Emerald, something like that. I can't remember. And it listed 5 grams of carbs, but it had 6 kinds of sugar.
Right.
And I was like, well, what? And that's when I learned about the margin of error. They can do a margin of error of plus or minus 1.
Actually, I think it's plus or minus 2, which means
Oh, I think it's
Yeah.
let me look at the CFR because I think it's plus
Yeah,
or minus 1.
that's the other thing.
Still, you
If
list
you put
5 kinds of
plenty enough,
sugar,
right.
it's actually 10 grams of carbs, and it's probably more,
If it's
honestly.
less than a certain percentage, you do not have to list it as a sugar. That's how something
That's
can
true.
have 15 grams of sugar and it says 5 grams
And you
because,
taste it, you're like, "Oh, that tastes sweet. That doesn't have any sugar?"
yeah,
Oh, it does.
yeah. That's why I'm always yelling, you got to fight for yourself, right? You got to fight for yourself. Now, while Anna's looking that up, let's flip it over and look at the front. And by the way, the ingredients are always written small. And if you're getting any kind of bar or anything like that, it's always folded under. You got to lift it up. And usually, they do the sealing in there. So you can't even really
I
read
know
it.
it's hard to
It's
read it.
sealed right over it. It's
There are
crazy what they do.
requirements in the CFR because we had to go through compliance for all of our labels to be able to be retail ready. There are certain requirements like a certain amount of font size that can't be smaller than like 1/16 of an inch. It has to be a certain percentage of what the title of the thing and the nutritional panel itself has to be Helvetica in a certain size.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, even if
That
you have
part,
a protein bar and it's small, but
yeah.
that's where it gets tricky because and that now I've seen so many non-compliant labels all over the grocery store. And I'm like, how come I'm following the rules, but these motherfuckers are they're
It,
doing
it,
whatever. They're doing whatever.
and if I told you the stuff that, we go through in the vitamin company, that's why we use GMP, good manufacturer practices. And we do third party testing on everything that comes out. Nothing leaves the factory. Even when we were going through all the problems and we weren't getting things on time and we could have skipped that process, it's like, nope, I'm not selling one product until we just pull some off the line and get them tested.
Right.
Right.
Wait, what am
And
I looking up in the CFR again? I forgot.
I can't remember. You were looking up the
Oh, the
plus or
grant
minus
margin of error.
margin of error. So while she's looking that up, on the front, nothing has to be true on the front. You could
Yeah,
put
the front can be all marketing speak.
keto certified. You can have a bowl of sugar and stamp keto certified on it. You pay these
That would
people.
be
I'm
crazy.
not being funny. You can have keto sugar, keto honey. You call anything keto if these people will sell you the stamp.
Well, and by the way, King Arthur keto flour has wheat in it and is certified keto. So I
Right.
don't know.
So you
So
just made my point for
I
me.
know exactly.
Flour is 100% carbohydrate. There's nothing ketogenic about it, and they're calling it keto.
And that one in particular has the worst, most egregious of the of the inflammatory flours, and it's like, no, it's keto.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, I would have made a lot more money if I had just been a lying liar. I'm still looking up this thing, but also too, I want to say this about the nutritional, the nut facts on the back with the carbs. This is the newest thing that I'm seeing is total carbs. Let's say 10 grams, right?
Mhm.
Including added sugars, 0, because that's a new line that they have to put in. And then it says, net carb, or it says something like fiber, 1 gram, and then it says net carbs, and then the math doesn't math on it. And you're like,
Right.
"Well, how do you get away with that?"
Because they don't have to tell the truth. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They can fudge that so much. And, love him or hate him, I hope it's something that, RFK Jr. goes after. Right. I know he's going after the drug companies and all this stuff. I hope he gets into this and straightens that shit out. People deserve to know what they're eating.
Okay. Use of terms such as sugar-free, free of sugar, no sugar, zero sugar, without sugar, sugarless, trivial source of sugar, negligible source of sugar, or dietarily insignificant source of sugar. The food that contains less than 0.5 grams of sugars as defined and then they give the number of the CFR per reference amount customarily consumed and per labeled serving, or in the case of a meal product or main dish product, less than 0.5 grams of sugar per labeled serving. So that means they can use those terms as long as they have 0.5 grams of sugar per serving, right?
Right.
But there can still be a little bit of sugar in there to sweeten it up. They put a little bit of honey or, so I'm still not gotten to the margin of error. So give me a second.
But
And by the way, something that we had to do for compliance was because we are calling out that it's no sugar added on our pasta sauces.
right.
And we're doing that on purpose because there's so many pasta sauces that have sugar added. And so we say no sugar added. You have to put an asterisk on the front and then a thing on the back that says not a low calorie food because it's over, what is it, 40 or 50 calories per serving.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's so funny because if you've been in the low carb community long enough, you don't really give a shit about, like, you're not counting calories of something that's just like tomato, you're not doing that. But I'm like, okay, we'll put that on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to be compliant, but it's just like, that's so dumb.
Yeah. Have you come up with it yet, Anna?
I'm getting there.
Folks,
TFR is very long and very dull.
and by the way, that's why when people go, well, Vinny, what do you eat? One ingredient foods,
Yeah.
right? Meat. Meat is one ingredient. Fish, chicken, pork. Did I mention chicken? Yeah. Eggs, one ingredient, right? Avocado, one ingredient. Nuts, one ingredient. High fat nuts. I don't mess around with pistachios or anything like that. They're too low. Everything I eat is like a pecan or a walnut or an almond. It's about as low as I'll go. All one ingredient, right? And you go, wait, you don't have salt in those nuts? No, because when you get salted nuts, that means they have to put seed oils on them to get it to stick, right? So that's not one ingredient anymore, right? If you stick to one ingredient foods and get used to eating that way, olive oil, one ingredient, right? Everything, if you eat everything one ingredient, then you'll be okay. And by the way, you go, well, you never go off of that? Yeah. We were going to talk about it today. We probably won't ever get to it, but I was in New York last weekend for my daughter's birthday. You better believe I had some New York food, right? So there is, I call it life into living. I'm with my daughter. She's having her 28th birthday. We had some fun together, right? I ate some junk. It wasn't really bad junk, but it was junk. And I paid for it the next day. I felt it. Had a little inflammation. I remember, and I went out for a walk the next morning. I put my tennis shoes on. They were tight. When your tennis shoes are tight,
Yeah.
it's like, geez, that quickly, man. It happens that quickly. But there you have it. Did you find it yet?
No, I haven't found it yet. The CFR is so long.
Let's not worry about it. Trust me when I tell you it's plus or minus 1 or 2 in either direction, which is a big fudging.
I thought it was 1. I didn't think it was 2, but nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Well, you guys, I gotta say, just pick up and read the labels because people will eat more than single ingredient foods. They will buy store-bought mayo. They will buy store-bought mustard. They will buy, and you have to Worcestershire sauce, things like that. You have to check. You got to check the labels.
Yeah.
Or know your food producer and know, like, obviously, you guys know Vinny and myself and know that we're going to make something.
People ask me, hey, you ever eat sausage? Yeah. Which brand do you buy? There's no brand. I go to a butcher who's packing that shit right there in the butcher shop.
Exactly.
Because you start buying these brands and God only knows what they're putting in there. Right. So yeah, I have sausage. I love sausage. I'll go find a guy. And by the way, you can trust, if Whole Foods they're making it at Whole Foods, as they do, you can trust that.
Right? I will say, I have amazing recipes for seasoning your own sausage and making your own sausage at home in my second book. I've got breakfast sausage and Italian sausage. You're done. That's all you need.
Boom. Is there a third sausage? There's only
there's all kind of sausage, but those are the 2 to get you started.
Look, I love brats. I love them all.
I love brats.
I love them all.
Brats can be sugary. You got to be careful.
Yeah, but if you go, the guy. Look, if you got to start worrying about the sugar and brats once a month or every other month when you have them, that's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
That's not going to knock you out of ketosis or screw up anything. Right. So, I like to be careful with people like that. A little sugar here and there won't kill you. Right. It's
right. But that's not the issue. The issue is when the little sugar turns into a bender.
Yeah. That's where the problem starts. Absolutely.
All right. Well, we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I can't read this whole CFR, but I do
No.
want to find out. I am always shocked. There was an earlier episode a couple years ago where we could talk about another time where the organic stuff, because they found out they were testing the lettuces and they're like, well, this lettuce has pesticide spray all over it when they tested it independent testing.
Right.
And Vinny said, check the CFR. They said if they have exhausted all possibilities of organic stuff, you're allowed to spray it. And guess what they do?
They spray it
They spray it.
every single time, and they can still stamp it organic and blah, 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 and all this stuff. I did a deep dive on that because I wrote another book that I'll never put out. I just
Why
wrote this
not?
poem. It was just because it wasn't fun. I didn't, when your own writings bore you, you know it's going to bore other people.
Yeah.
It was just this thick tome of, and I went down a lot of rabbit holes. I went down the rabbit hole of water and what the government allows with water. It's enough to scare people.
What do you
And
mean? In like bottled water?
just all, yeah, water, tap water, all of it. It's just pretty
Mhm.
amazing. And then I went down another rabbit hole of organic. I didn't mean to go down it, but like for 2 months, all I was doing was researching, the government and what organic really means. And that's why I tell people, do not be fooled and buy organic.
Yep.
It's like buying an electric car and thinking you're saving the planet. It's actually worse. Now you
Yeah.
have a lithium battery. Now there was some kid a slave that had to go dig out all that lithium. And so what are you going to do with that? And then you got to somehow get the energy into your car, which means there's an electric plant somewhere spewing out diesel, coal, or both, right? So there is no net positive to an electric car, right? At all. But people have bought into that. It's the same with this, right? You can buy into something and it's not what you think it is.
Carbohydrate total or total carbohydrate, a statement of the number of grams of total carbohydrate per serving expressed to the nearest gram, except that if a serving contains less than 1 gram, the statement contains less than 1 gram or less than 1 gram may be used as an alternative. Or if the serving contains less than 0.5 gram, the content may be expressed as 0. So even though we're not talking about the margin of error, you can still see how they're like, okay, well, if we divide one kind of sugar into 6 kinds of sugar, and then really once we do the math on it, it becomes 0.5 grams, and we can say 0. And then really the only sugar that has any quantifiable measurement per serving that's listed further up in the ingredient list. But now we can say it only has 3 grams of sugar when in fact it has a whole bunch more packed in there.
That's what I was talking about earlier. That's
Yeah.
why they put lemon juice concentrate and grape juice concentrate, because they could do all of that at 0.5 or less.
Yeah.
And just get the total number way down. And you're going, wow, this is only 3 grams of sugar or 5 grams of sugar. And it's really sweet. Yeah, because there's way more sugar in there than you think.
Right.
Right. So they get to lie. Folks, the one woman who's not lying is Anna Vocino.
The
And
one woman and all the women.
Yeah, out of all the women,
She's not lying.
She's Italian and she doesn't lie. She has a book called Eat Happy Italian. Go get that book right now. Eat Happy Italian.
Book.
But look, don't
book.
go straight to Amazon. Go to VinnieTortorich.com, click through the banner, puts a little coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. And that's how we keep this show going. Yeah, you're a dark person, Anna.
It's very dark in here. I'm cold. Got my sweater.
I noticed that you're all bundled up. What's going on over there?
It's just I feel chilly. I don't know.
Yeah, I threw on this big
chilly.
thick wool sweater right before I sat here. Anyway, yeah, we're recording this really late. It's like 9:00 at night for me over here.
Yeah.
Because Anna had to do work today, stuff. So here we are on a Friday night.
Well, you know what? I'm so excited to report from the food show next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear.
I'm going to try to get some samples of stuff because I want to be able to show you. I know we'll have a laugh. We'll have a laugh.
Anna, you won't have to try to get samples. They will be handing you samples.
It's so crazy. You know what? We do really well because we're actually serving food that's real food. So people like to stop and eat real food, but it's so much snacky crispy, snacky, beveragey coffee alternatives. Oh my God. Last year, that one girl's like, it was so loud in the thing. She's like, you want to try some coffee? All I heard was the word coffee. And I was like, yeah, sure. She hands it to me. I was like, "Ugh," like I almost spit it out, but it turns out it was like a chicory.
Like oat coffee or chicory coffee.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I was like, that's the worst thing I've ever had. And I was like, thank you. And you're always like, thank you. And then you're like, where's the trash? Where's the trash? But it has to be a far enough trash because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So
I went around one day when I was at that thing because I kept saying, no thanks, no thanks, no thanks.
yeah.
But one day I took my little sack that they give you.
Yeah.
And I just walked around and took every sample and came back and I was sitting in my booth looking at all the erythritol and all of the xylitol and all of the, oh my God, it was all just full of crap, just crap on top of crap. Can't wait to hear from Anna about that. In the meantime, go get her book, Eat Happy, Italian. It's burning gas right now over at Amazon.
My best book so far. It's by far the best one.
Debatable, but I like it because I'm Italian. I'm eating out of it.
Here's why I say it's the best one. My recipe writing has way improved. The photography has definitely improved. And what else do you want besides photography?
I thought that was because it was Italian food that looks nummy.
It does look nummy.
It is nummy. Folks, go get this book. You're going to love it. I thought my copy was right here on the desk, but it's upstairs because we ate something from it just last night. So go check that out. Go to VinnieTortorich.com. Rate and review this podcast and all that good stuff. Anna, I don't have any walk-off music here today. Do you have a song? Do you have a request? Anything? Yeah, I got a song. This song is going to be dedicated
Figured
to
you would.
Dedicated
to me?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah, I got a song. I'm dedicating this song to you. This is our walkout song today.
Okay.
God, I hope it plays. Let's see if I can pull it.
Is there a song about how you do a podcast every week until you die? Is there a song about that?
I think this is that song.
Okay, cool.
All right. So, on behalf of Anna Vocino, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with one Mr. Tom Jones.